afternoon and welcome to Skedline. I'm Karen Doradea and here is what's making news now. A second suspect accused of assaulting a man with autism has turned himself in this morning. 25-year-old Ranjat Singh Dami surrendered to Peel police and later transported to Toronto police. The arrest comes days after 21-year-old Parmveer Singh Shahil was arrested in Windsor in connection with the assault. Dami is expected in court later today for a bail hearing, according to his lawyer. Police are still searching for a third suspect who has not yet been identified. The suspect may go by the name of Jason and was seen wearing a large black Nike hooded sweatshirt. In other local news, 2 men were taken to the hospital this morning following a wrong-way crash on the Gardiner Expressway. Police say an elderly male driver was driving the opposite way in the westbound lanes near South Kingsway when he collided with a truck. The men were taken to a trauma center with non-life-threatening injuries. All westbound lanes of the highway were closed following the incident, but the area has since reopened. Police have not said if the driver will be facing any charges. Now we head to Washington, where an Air Canada flight was forced to make an emergency landing on Sunday after smoke was discovered in the cockpit. The flight was headed for Ronald Reagan Airport when the pilots made the discovery and diverted to Dulles International Airport in Washington. The 63 passengers and 4 crew members were unarmed. Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority spokesman Andrew Truel says there were no delays as a result of the incident. All runways are now back up and running normally. The Prime Minister is set to exonerate 6 First Nation chiefs who were executed by British Columbia's colonial government over 150 years ago. The warriors were hanged after a deadly confrontation with the White Road builders during the Chilcotin War of 1864. Trudeau's itinerary says he will deliver a statement of exoneration for the Chilcotin chiefs in the House of Commons at 3 p.m. Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett is scheduled to hold a press conference alongside the Chilcotin Nation leadership today in Ottawa after Trudeau's statement. Now we send it off to Daniel for local sports news.
Thanks, Karen. The Humber Hawks are going home with 1 trophy in each hand after both the men's and women's indoor soccer teams won the OCAA championship. For the women's, it is their 2nd consecutive OCAA title, and they won in impressive fashion. The women's squad conceded just 1 goal in 6 games and defeated Seneca 3-0 in the final. Rebecca Spratt was named MVP after scoring in the final goal of the tournament. As for the men's side, the Hawks defeated reigning champion George Brown 1-0 to win their NCAA title. Bradley Fenton scored the game-winning goal in the final and was elected championship MVP. The Raptors were unable to hold off the Clippers as the Toronto side blew an 18-point lead to lose 116-107. It was former Raptor Lou Williams who helped the Clippers overcome the Raptors' early lead. Williams scored 26 points with 18 coming in the 4th quarter. The Raptors also received little help from All-Star DeMar DeRozan, who had one of his poorest showing of the season. DeRozan contributed just 11 points, shooting 3 of 12 from the field. It's been a tough stretch for the Raptors as Sunday's loss is their 3rd in the last 5 games. Dwayne's Casey side will have a chance to get back to their winning ways tomorrow night as they take on the Denver Nuggets at home. After a 4-3 come-from-behind win over the Detroit Red Wings, the Leafs will look to notch another victory tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. The Leafs will have a chance to make history tonight as a win would break the franchise record for most wins in a season. They could not have asked for an easier opportunity as their opponent, the Sabres, sit last in the Atlantic Division with just 58 points. If there is one player who can play a big part in tonight's game, it is the red-hot James Van Riemsdyk. The Leafs winger has been an offensive machine, tallying 11 points in the last 6 games. It will also be Austin Matthews' 3rd game back from injury, and the Leafs center has added 2 points in his 2 games back. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. The Toronto Blue Jays are back in their home country today as they look to wrap up their spring training festivities. The Jays are set to go head-to-head with the St. Louis Cardinals at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. This is the 5th consecutive years the Blue Jays have ended their spring training with a game in Montreal, and there will be more than just a few players to keep an eye on. Top prospects Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be in action for the Blue Jays before the duo are sent down to begin their season in AA. The game will be a return home of sorts for Guerrero, as his father played 8 seasons for the now-defunct Montreal Expos. On the mound for the Blue Jays will be Marcus Stroman, who tweeted his pleasure for being able to pitch in front of the Montreal crowd. First pitch is scheduled for 7:07. And now, off to Connor for a recap of last night's Juno Awards.
Thanks, Daniel. The Juno Awards took place over the weekend in Vancouver, with Michael Bublé returning as host for the first time since 2013. There were lots of Humber alumni on display over the weekend. Matthew Burnett won the Juno for R&B Soul Recording of the Year for his role as co-producer on Daniel Caesar's album Freudian. Another Humber alumni also won last night. William Kahn contributed on Fred Penner's album Hear the Music, which won the Juno for Children's Album of the Year. Humber faculty Mike Downs won Jazz Album of the Year solo for the album Root Structure. But this wasn't Downs' first Juno win, after he won Traditional Jazz Album of the Year back in 2014 for Ripple Effect. The late Gord Downie was the big winner on the night, picking up 3 awards, including Artist of the Year and Songwriter of the Year, alongside Kevin Drew for the songs Introduce Yourself and The North from the album Introduce Yourself. Drew and Pearl Wendrack opened a tribute to Downey before Sarah Harmer, accompanied by the Bare Naked Ladies pianist Kevin Hearn, performed the title track from Introduce Yourself. Dallas Green then came on to perform the Tragically Hip's Boccagian alongside Harmer to close out the tribute. Speaking of the Bare Naked Ladies, they reunited with Stephen Page on the stage after nearly a decade apart to commemorate their induction into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. The one night only show ended with a medley of their best known hits, One Week and If I Had $1 Million. Throughout the night, there were a series of pre-recorded messages from various people, such as the cast of The Big Bang Theory, for whom the band recorded a theme song, Bryan Adams, and frequent collaborator Jason Priestley. For the full list of winners, check out skedline.com. Now over to Kaylee with all your trending needs.
Thanks, Connor. The first non-stop flight from Australia to the UK landed in London yesterday. The flight was 17 hours long, and it's known for the second longest flight in the world. It covered a distance of 14,875 kilometers. The flight created history as it arrived on land at 5:03 a.m. and was carrying more than 23 passengers and crew on board. Rapper and activist Killer Mike apologizes in a series of videos for his interview with the NRA. He hoped it would shed light and continue conversation about African American gun ownership, but the NRA used his interview against the hashtag March for Our Lives movement. Some Twitter users sent replies to Killer Mike showing their support for his apology. Spring has arrived early in Srinagar, Kashmir in northern India. With the early arrival of spring, the Indira Gandhi Memorial Tulip Garden opened their doors to visitors yesterday. The garden houses 53 varieties of tulips. Indian Forest Authority set out to begin their yearly rhino census in the world-famous Kaziranga National Park in northern eastern state of Assam. The sanctuary is home to 2/3 of the world great one-horned rhinos. More than 40 elephants will help out with the head count, as well as 17 vehicles. That's what's trending on Twitter today. Now let's go over to Connor for more entertainment news.
Thanks, Kaylee. Canada Reads is back once again. The annual Battle of the Books competition, organised CBC, started today. For those who are unfamiliar, 5 personalities champion 5 different books that fall under one theme. This year the theme is One Book to Open Your Eyes. There are a series of 5 programmes in Canada Reads, with one book being voted out of the competition until only one book remains. Moving on, Michael Bublé and his wife, Luisana Lopilato, have announced they're expecting another baby. The Canadian crooner announced whilst hosting the Junos that baby number 3 is on the way. The announcement comes a year and a half after the couple announced their son, Noah, was diagnosed with cancer. Fashion house Louis Vuitton has announced Kanye West is to collaborate as new menswear designer. Virgil Abloh has joined as new menswear designer and has been a long-time creative director for Kanye West. Abloh takes over from Kim Jones, whom the company is moving to Christian Dior couture brand to revamp its menswear offer. After years of speculation, Swedish House Mafia reunited on the Ultra Miami stage on Sunday to help celebrate the festival's 20th anniversary. The trio took to the stage and said their names before causing fans to go crazy by saying, "As Miami, tonight we go by Swedish House Mafia." When asked why they chose this moment to reunite, they simply said, "It was time." It is not yet known if a new album is on the way, but watch this space. Music icon Sir Elton John celebrated his 71st birthday on Sunday. The Rocketman singer celebrated his birthday with husband David Furnish and his 2 sons, Elijah and Zachary. Elton recently announced he was retiring from touring in the near future. The Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour will be a 3-year tour with 300 dates. The music legend has said his priorities have changed. He went on to say, "I've had an amazing career. My priorities are now my children and my husband and my family." The 31st annual Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards took place on Saturday in California. Hosted by WWE superstar John Cena, Stranger Things and Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle won big. Fellow wrestler Dwayne Johnson won Favourite Movie Actor for his role in Jumanji, whilst Millie Bobby Brown won for Favourite TV Actress for her role in Stranger Things. The show also honoured the people who were protesting in the March for Our Lives movement. And Pacific Rim Uprising has dethroned Black Panther at the top of the North American box office. The Monsters vs. Robots science fiction sequel dethroned the superhero sensation with an estimated $28 million in ticket sales over the weekend. The film, starring John Boyega and Scott Eastwood, opened it on March 23rd in the United States, and critics are praising the film, calling it fun, goofy entertainment. Now back to Karen with the latest news.
Thanks, Connor. U.S. President Donald Trump is under hot water after Sunday's 60 Minutes interview with Stormy Daniels. In the interview with Anderson Cooper, Daniels breaks her silence about her alleged affair with Donald Trump. Daniels reveals more details on threats made to her by Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, who paid Daniels $130,000 as part of a non-disclosure agreement she signed. The agreement is invalid because Trump did not sign it, Daniels says. The White House has denied the affair happened. In other news, a massive national protest took place in Washington on Saturday, just 5 weeks after a gunman killed 17 students and teachers at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The March for Our Lives protest gathered thousands of students, teachers, and supporters in the streets of Washington, D.C. and cities nationwide. Protesters could be heard chanting, "Enough is enough," and "No more AR-15s," which refers to the semi-automatic rifle the killer used. Student leader and Parkland survivor Emma Gonzalez spoke and stood in silence in front of thousands and hundreds of supporters for about 6 minutes and 20 seconds, the time the massacre lasted. Here's a clip of Gonzalez at the protest.
Since the time that I came out here, it has been 6 minutes and 20 seconds. The shooter has ceased shooting and will soon abandon his rifle, blend in with the students as they escape, and walk free for an hour before arrest. Fight for your lives before it's someone else's job.
After the rally, demonstrators moved to the streets as students wore burgundy t-shirts saying MSD Strong, listing the names of their classmates. Parents and community members joined them as they carried signs reading, "Protect kids, not guns," "Ban the NRA," and "Our ballots will stop bullets." In other political news, Russian diplomats have been expelled across North America and Europe in a coordinated response to the poisoning of a former Russian spy in the UK. This is said to be the largest collective expulsion of Russian intelligence officers in history, according to CNN. 18 countries have aligned with the UK, expelling more than 100 diplomats. European Union leaders agreed last week it was highly likely Russia was behind the nerve agent poisoning. In Canada, 4 Russian diplomats will be told to leave, and 3 others will not be given permission to start working in Canada, according to a statement by Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland. Freeland adds that these measures are not aimed at the Russian people, with whom Canadians have long and fruitful ties. Canada remains committed to dialogue and cooperation with Russia on issues where we face common challenges. Now to Daniel for the rest of sports.
Thanks, Karen. We are now down to the Final Four in this year's March Madness, and there were no shortage of thrills in this weekend's matchup. Powered by skill and Sister Jean, Loyola earned another upset victory over 9th seed Kansas State. Next up for them is another tough challenge against 3rd seeded Michigan. Perhaps the biggest clash of this weekend, though, was a battle between 1st seeded Kansas and 2nd seeded Duke. A high-scoring affair, Kansas outlasted Duke 85-81 to advance to the Final Four, where they will take on Villanova. Whether it's a story of Loyola's Cinderella journey or a battle between 2 heavyweights in Kansas versus Villanova, the Final Four is shaping up to be a can't-miss affair. Both games are scheduled for March 31st. History was made this weekend as for the first time in 45 years, a Canadian woman won gold at the World Figure Skating Championship. Caitlin Osman ended the drought for Canada, winning the women's single crown in Milan. Her Black Swan routine scored her 150.50 points, giving her 223 points total, enough for the gold. Osmond described the feeling as unbelievable and something that she would have never expected. She is only the 4th Canadian woman ever to win a world title. Bubba Watson entered conversation to be a favorite for the upcoming Masters tournament as he dominated the World Golf Championship. Watson took down Justin Thomas and Kevin Kisner on his way to another PGA title. No stranger to victory, this is Watson's 2nd PGA Tour win this season, adding another title to his decorated career. It is his 11th career PGA Tour title, with all of them coming in the last 8 years. With the Masters just over a week away, Watson continues to make a strong push for another PGA Tour title. And now, here's Karen with your international news update.
Thanks, Daniel. A fire broke out in a shopping mall in Siberia, Russia, killing at least 64 people. Many of the victims were children. Russian investigators and witnesses say there was no alarm and the exits were blocked when the incident occurred at the Winter Cherry Mall. The investigative committee says a fire safety technician at the mall switched off the alarm system after being alerted about the fire. 2 other fire safety officials have been detained for questioning, along with the mall's technical director and the manager of a business located where the fire started, according to the committee. The cause of the fire is not yet known. In France, 4 people were killed in a shooting spree in supermarket hostage in southwest France on Friday. 25-year-old Rodin Lactim has been known to the police for drug offenses and illegal firearms, and in recent years, investigators worried he was at risk for Islamist radicalization. One witness described him laughing as he opened fire, killing a worker and customer. The French government have described Lactim as acting alone. This was the first major suspected terrorist incident since President Emmanuel Macron lifted France's 2-year state of emergency last fall. ISIS claimed responsibility for the attacks without actual evidence. French authorities are investigating the claim. That's all the news we have for you today. I'm Karen Doradea. Thanks for watching.